Well, joining us now to discuss President Biden's list of judicial nominees is Carrie Severino, president of the Judicial Crisis Network. Carrie, welcome back.
Great to be here.
Well, what are your initial thoughts about this list?
Well, my concerns about this list are it looks to me like this is the beginning in the judicial front of payback for the liberal dark money that helped put President Biden in office. There were over $100 million spent by liberal dark money groups to help get him elected. And now what we're seeing is a lot of those groups asking for judges to be put on the court that would advance those objectives. And so this is sort of the front line of watching that payback in progress. And it's interesting, to see some of the way that his nominees are being pushed very far to the left by some of those interest groups. Judge Jackson, for example, who's gotten a lot of press today, is someone who in the DC District Court has been overruled numerous times by the DC Circuit, including by some of the most liberal judges on that bench, and is someone who is far to the left. It's concerning to me to see that kind of influence on the federal judiciary rather than focusing on judges who are going to simply be applying the law as it's written.
And Carrie, which of these judges is considered the front runner should a spot open up on the Supreme Court?
Well, you've definitely heard a lot of people talking about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson even before she was elevated to the D.C. Circuit or nominated to that position. Unfortunately, I think what we're hearing is a lot of discussion being talked about simply praising the racial diversity of the nominees, which is something certainly to be applauded. But I think the people who are making these arguments, it's coming from the same people who attacked Justice Clarence Thomas, for example, in what he called a high-tech lynching. It's the kind of people who blocked D.C. Circuit Judge Janice Rogers Brown, an outstanding Black woman, and filibustered her a nomination, who attacked Naomi Rao, an Indian-American woman who's on the D.C. Circuit now, and refused to vote for her. So those claims kind of ring very hollow. I think what we're seeing is people who are not actually, at the end of the day, interested in just diversity for diversity's sake. They really want people who are going to advance a particular partisan agenda.
Sure, it's all about the agenda. And is there anything that pro-lifers and even religious freedom supporters can do about this?
Well, I think it's important for people to understand what's going on here. We have a president who campaigned on reaching across the aisle and on unity, who himself was once pro-life and now seems to be, again, responding to some of those pressures from the left. The big money that helped put him in office talks. And so he's backtracking on everything from his former pro-life record to his support for not packing the Supreme Court. Now he's open to those kind of extremist ideas as well. People need to be holding him accountable. Talk to your senators and remind them that we want judges who are going to be faithful to the law and to the Constitution, not who are going to be politicians or even, I would say, just straight up activists now in robes.
We're going to switch gears a little bit. If I can ask you a little bit about the nomination of Vanita Gupta as the Associate Attorney General. Tell us about her and where the nomination process now stands.
Yeah, so she has had her hearing in the Judiciary Committee. She was questioned, and there were some great questions by the Republican senators on that committee about, in particular, some of her previous statements, effectively suggesting that people who were pro-life or pro-religious liberty shouldn't be in office, and some concerns that they had about her attempts to decriminalize all drugs, for example, and some of her opposition to sentences for even white supremacists and domestic terrorists. So this is something that's now moving on to the floor in the House. I think it's going to be an interesting question to watch what Joe Manchin does, particularly, again, at the candidate who has been very much opposed across the board to even making any drugs illegal. She would decriminalize all drugs. This is in a state where the opioid crisis has taken so many thousands of lives, and now there are reports that have come out about the stock that she holds in a company that Bloomberg says is being investigated by Mexico for ties to it's producing an element that's used to make very serious types of heroin. And there's concerns that it's not being done it's being done in a way that facilitates drug cartels getting a hold of it. I think all of those things are questions that they should be asking.
Well, I thank you so much for your insight. Carrie Severino, president of Judicial Crisis Network, thank you for joining us.